Hola otra vez, it's the March guy. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I'm Aris. I'm from the Philippines and I like to learn languages as a hobby. Today I'm going to be making a video which has been highly requested since my first video about Spanish. Basically, I think that everyone has this mindset that learning a language takes a huge chunk of your time and then proceeds to make the excuse of not having the time for it. I'm here to show you that you can chilly learn a language in a way that doesn't demand a lot of time from you, because this is how I study Spanish every week without having to stress so much about it. Basically, there are 6 components in language learning. Those are vocabulary, speaking, listening, grammar, reading, and writing. In a week, I make sure that I cover all of those, or at least 4 out of 6 components. This routine is stress-free and chill for me, so I hope that you can pick up a thing or two from this video and realize that language learning should be a fun activity. Every day when I wake up, the first thing I do is open my laptop and do Duolingo for at least 15 minutes. Learning a language to start a day gives me a certain je ne sais quoi. To be honest, I like this activity the most because it's light and enjoyable and doesn't really require much of my brain power. And as a bonus, it already tackles 4 out of 6 components, which are vocabulary, because the app introduces new vocab on different levels. Speaking, when Duo or the owl requires you to repeat after him or the words written. Listening, because it lets you hear Spanish sentences, which you have to translate or transcribe. And reading, but light reading, because basically you have to read and analyze sentences. Although this is not sponsored, but I hope they start sponsoring me soon, I really think that learning Spanish through Duolingo has been the most effective method for me in this journey. Like I told you before, I listen to Duolingo podcasts in the shower because I want to grab all the learning opportunities I can. I think it's a great way to enjoy showering and learning a language at the same time, if that makes sense. This activity tests how well you are with your listening skills. I also listen to it when I'm in the car and doing some errands because frankly, the stories are captivating and true to life as well. By the way, I forgot to tell you that the podcasts are for intermediate learners, but if you want to challenge yourself, then go ahead because that's what I did before. During breakfast or study breaks, I like to watch Spanish vloggers or Spanish series because both of these are activities I enjoy. And by taking advantage of my interests in language learning, I become twice as productive as well. Most of the time, this is what I do because it requires minimal effort, and this is what I reward myself after a long or stressful day. While watching, I just screenshot some phrases or sentences that catch my attention. So even if I say I'm lazy, I'm actually not. On days that I have spare hours, which are usually Fridays or weekends, I make sure to call my Spanish friends just for an hour because ultimately this tests my progress throughout the week. I apply to our conversation new vocabulary I've learned or new sentence structures I've picked up. I clarify to them any doubts I may have and ask them for some slang expressions. Since I don't like textbooks, don't we all? These conversations have been my primary source for learning the language. It's a glimpse of how the real world looks like. My first conversations were really frightening as well, but I think it's part of the process and developing my interpersonal skills with strangers. Also, once a week, I try to find a new Spanish song from Spotify and memorize the lyrics of it. What I do is I search for the Spanish lyrics of a song I like and use Google Translate to translate the lyrics to English. Sometimes I try to find Disney songs which I really love and look for their Spanish renditions. I just find it entertaining. It sounds silly, but it's fun for me because I get to see how the Spanish play with the words in the lyrics to express emotions. It's a gateway to a completely new world of sentence structures and metaphors. Right now, I am listening and memorizing Mi Negrita, and it's also in my Spanish playlist down below in the description box, so you can check that out as well. There were actually multiple occasions where I would talk to native speakers and unconsciously use song lyrics in our conversations. Luckily, they don't recognize the songs. On Sundays, and strictly on Sundays, where I relieve myself from academic responsibilities, I do my gold list. For those of you who don't know, the gold list method is a method used by polyglots to retain vocabulary better and more efficiently. Let me show you how. First, you're gonna need a notebook and at least 2 colors of pen for this activity. For every list, you're gonna need 2 pages for the revisions and the list itself. On the left page, put the date at the top and list 20 sentences in your target language at the left column and its English translation at the right column. You can get sentences from articles or books that you're reading or conversations from Netflix characters or monologues from YouTubers. Make sure that the sentences you want to put are sentences that you deem important and useful for your conversations. So, the date serves as your guide as to when you make your first revision, the second revision, and the third revision of the sentences. As a habit, I usually allot 2 weeks from the moment I write the sentences before I begin my revisions. When 2 weeks have passed, I then start my first revision. I cover with my hand the column on the list with the the Spanish sentences and translate the English ones into Spanish out loud. If I get them, I put a check mark beside them. And if I don't, I put an X mark. I then transfer the sentences that I got wrong into the next part of the page, and I put the date at the top so I can count another 2 weeks from that date and do a second revision. So basically, it's just a process of filtering and filtering until the sentences stick into your long-term memory. And please do not cheat. The whole process fails if you're tempted to cheat. It's supposed to test yourself and your memory. So that's basically how my week of studying Spanish looks like. As you may realize by now, it's not that hectic because I see language learning as a hobby rather than an obligation. Plus, my academics should go first, and if you have a job, I know that your job should go first as well. Hopefully, this video inspires you to see language learning as a fun activity so you can erase that voice in your mind that says that it's hard to learn a language. I've been in that spot before, but once I realized that I could tailor the process of language learning into my life in a way that makes me comfortable, then I started to appreciate the language. And remember, consistency is key. Anyway, feel free to comment any questions that you may have or stuff that you might want to share about your routine. But for the meantime, hasta la próxima!